Before the interview starts, let me give you some more background on Steve. Steve is a long-time government employee. To obtain this job, he had to take extensive drug testing and extensive background checks. He has nothing to gain from telling the story. He's well respected by his co-workers and by the community. We feel that he is a very credible witness. This is Tom with the Crypto Crew. I'm with Steve, who had a Bigfoot encounter. Steve, start off by telling us what state, county, and town that you had your encounter in.
I was in Tennessee, Claiborne County, which is in the Forge Ridge area of that county there.
All right, then tell us what year, and then tell us what you were doing.
Well, I don't know the exact year. It was in late 70s. I was a young teenager at the time, and I was squirrel hunting. It was one evening, getting kind of dusky dark, but you could still see real good through the woods. And I was sitting there against a tree, and I heard something coming down the hill. It was on the hillside where I was sitting there in the woods at, and thought, well, it's a squirrel coming. So I just, kept sitting there watching. And I started seeing something white coming down through the woods, and the closer it got down, I could see it was tall, walking like a man. Slinging its arms as it walked, taking pretty good strides as it was walking. I thought, golly, it was like, just estimating, probably 7-8 feet tall. And it walks on down through the woods just about parallel straight out from me there, and it stopped and turned facing me. It just standing there looking at me with its arms hanging down beside it, and I was trying to make its face out. And like I said, it was only like 35-40 yards away from me, but I couldn't make any facial features at all out about it. And all of a sudden that thing screamed just like a woman screaming. Is the only way I've always described it, real loud. And it turned and took a couple big leaps down the woods, stopped, and turned around and looked at me again, and started beating on a tree that looked to be probably, I don't know, 6-8 inches diameter, something like that. And when it did that, I jumped up and took off back to the house. But I mean, that's, I don't know. That's.
What kind of gun did you have? Did you think about shooting at it? Or?
No, Lord, I just had a shotgun, 20 gauge, but no, that was the farthest thing from my mind back then, That's why I was talking to Cliff. If I saw one now, would I shoot it? Would I run after it to see what it is, or would I run back to the house like I did first time? So, I mean, until you encounter something like that, you might think you're going to do this or that, but it's a little bit different when you're facing something that you really don't, know what you're looking at.
Well, what about the hair on it? Was the hair long, short?
I couldn't really tell. As far as I could just see, it was solid white from the top of its head all the way down, and I couldn't tell you if its hair was, short, long, or what. It was just a solid white creature. I don't know, if it's short hair, long hair, what. And I say white, and I've heard them seeing white once, and then I saw one of the Bigfoot shows where they actually called them a gray, like where they maybe when they get older they turn gray like the rest of us do. I mean, that's a possibility. Because years ago, when my mom and aunts and them was growing up, they used to see one in the same area. And that was back in probably the 40s, I guess. And the best I remember, they said it had brown hair. If it was the same one, like I say, it might have just got old, or either it might be a different one. I don't know.
Well, had you heard of anybody else in that area seeing one about around the same time you did, or
no?
Was that anything that you was aware of at the time?
No, never knew anything about seeing anything like that up in there at the time. No.
How about strange noises now? You ever hear anything around that area?
No, but believe me, I've listened.
Well, how long did it take you before you went back hunting in that area?
Well, it was probably a little while, but it wasn't that long really, because I've always hunted, but I still, even today, and that's been 30-some years ago, I'll still sit in the woods and think about that,
Well, at the time, I guess it was pretty scary for you?
Oh, yeah.
You wanted to get out of there pretty quick?
I'd say a rabbit couldn't outrun me down through there. Yeah, it was pretty frightening there.
Well, a lot of times when people see things like that, it's kind of a life-changing event for them, because we're always told and taught that there's nothing like that out there. But
right, yeah.
But then when you see it for yourself,
yeah, when you see it for yourself, it's just just like what I told Cliff, when we was down at Knoxville there, that I've never cared who believed me. and still don't, never will, because I know exactly what I saw, and the only thing I can describe it as is a white Bigfoot. I mean, it was no animal that's around here, and it was no human, no bear, nothing that they say, well, it might have been this, might have been that, nothing. I mean, the only thing it can be described as is a white Bigfoot.
About how long did this whole encounter take place?
From the time I probably saw it till I jumped up and run, just a few minutes. You know, because from the time I saw it coming down the hill, it was taking pretty long steps walking down the hill there. And then when it got right in front of me, it stopped. And, you know, it didn't stand there long until it screamed, and it took, like I said, a couple leaps. And when it started smacking on that tree, I ran. So it probably just a few minutes, you know.
Well, when it was smacking on the tree, did it make any more sound? Or?
No. When it started smacking on the tree is when I jumped up and run. Which is what they asked me there, you know, at the Finding Bigfoot. Said, did it make any other sounds? I said, I have no idea, buddy. I was going that way. But, you know, now, you know, since you know, got older and everything, I'd love to see that again. You may not live to tell what it is, but I think, or I want to think, that I would go after it to see what it is.
Well, I know a lot of times when you see stuff like that and you do take off, the only thing you can hear is the pounding of your own heart in your ears.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know, I'd killed a squirrel earlier that evening, and I always carried a little pouch with me, putting the squirrels in, and I left that laying there and never did go back and get it.
Well, it probably got your squirrel.
Oh, it probably did, yeah. In fact, I went back to the same place later on, you know, hunting. Of course, it wasn't there, but, you know, anything could pack something like that off. But, yeah, I don't really know whether it would have been it or...
Well, you know,
whatever.
people always say when you see something like that, they always say, well, it was a bear.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
There's no chance this could have been a bear.
Ain't no way. No
what would
way.
you tell somebody if they said, oh, you seen a bear?
Same thing I've always told them. You're crazy. You don't know what I saw. I'm the one that saw it. No, it's definitely not a bear. I've never saw one walking on two legs like a man, slinging its arms as it walked. And its arms was longer. They come down a little bit past its knees when it was walking down through there slinging its arms. I picked up on that about how long its arms was.
Did you notice any like ears or anything like that, or is it all covered with hair?
It just evidently it was just all hair, because I'm sure its skin probably wasn't white, so I just assumed it had white hair all over its face too. You know, I couldn't make any details at all about it. Its facial features, and I was really trying to, because I was, you know, I'd never even really heard that much about a Bigfoot back then, you know, and I was trying to really see what that thing was, you know. So what am I looking at right here? And when we first started watching that Finding Bigfoot thing, they first started talking, and I guess the first episode we watched, they was talking about the screams and calls they make, and I thought, wow, you know, this thing screamed. And that girl on there, I heard her scream not too long ago on one of the episodes, and that sounded so much like what I heard.
You heard.
And then, you know, they talk about them hitting on trees, and I thought, wow, you know, it's just so, you know, and I thought, well, they're on something there. Because that's exactly two of the things that I saw actually with my own eyes happen.
Nobody can convince you otherwise, because you've seen it.
There ain't no way. I mean, no way.
You
That's just like us sitting here talking now. If you go home tonight and somebody said you didn't sit here and talk to him about that,
I know I did.
You know you did. So,
well, how long has it been since you've been back in that area, that same area?
Oh, that's right across from where I live now.
So some place that you could...
Oh, I grew up there, you know, just in that same holler there. We grew up there, then ended up building just right up from there. So it's actually right where my house sits now. It's just right across the road on the hillside there. I can look at, you know, right where it was at.
How often do you look out the window and see if you see anything?
Oh, I look a lot, and I have all through the years. And like I said, I deer hunt all the time, and I don't think there's any days I sit there and it don't cross my mind about something like that walking back through there. I mean, you just don't forget it.
Stays with you forever.
It does, yeah.
Well, I appreciate you telling us your story, and it's a good one. Always keep us posted if you see it again, or
oh yeah,
think of something new. You might ought to invest in some trail cams, you know.
Well, yeah, I thought about different things, but nobody in that area, you know, that I know of has saw anything like that. Mm-hmm. But like I was telling you this morning, a guy I knew, he said it came out in the papers back when we was kids in the 70s about people around the area seeing a white Bigfoot. I didn't hear anything about that coming out in papers. Of course, I wasn't interested in newspapers back then, but I don't know if I could research that and go back on the daily news to
maybe find it. Yeah,
Claiborne probably, maybe find it.
I would say that would be archived in the library.
It should be, yeah.
And, on microfilm or something.
I'd like to someday get over there and see if you could find something.
Well,
like
if you do, let us know. I'd like to.
Oh yeah.
Share it with everybody.
That'd be good.
But I appreciate your time.
Well, I appreciate you listening to me.
Thank you.
All right, man.